Good evening, everybody. A Hamas rocket attack killed 4 Israelis Sunday. The strike took place at the Kerem Shalom border crossing, which had been closed for humanitarian aid. For terrorists, humanitarian corridors are just easy targets asking to be hit. Israel responded to that attack. They ordered 100,000 civilians to evacuate from Rafah in southern Gaza. It vowed to operate with extreme force in the area to rip out Hamas once and for all. The Biden administration has been threatening the Israelis not to purge that region of terrorists, and every delay that Biden has imposed upon Israel gave the terrorists another opportunity to kill. And that's exactly what happened yesterday. Biden went so far as to withhold ammunition shipments to Israel. That in a political effort not only to stall the Rafah operation, but to appeal to far left pro Palestinian elements within the Marxist Dem Party here at home. But now Hamas, terrified of Israeli retribution, has suddenly agreed to a ceasefire proposal. Will Hamas honor that request to release Israeli hostages? What is the condition of those hostages? And have they killed them? We won't hold our breath. However, if they are to be released, it'll be because Israel never bowed to its enemies despite President Biden's best efforts. Abroad or at home, no one likes or trusts Biden. In fact, a new ABC News Ipsos poll has found that more Americans trust Donald Trump on the economy and on inflation than Biden. That should surprise no one, perhaps the pollsters, but no one else. Bring back President Trump. The world is on fire, and Biden pours gasoline on it daily. And as we get closer to November, people will remember the stability and prosperity we had just a few years ago. Joining us now to talk about all of this is Monica Crowley. She's the host of the Monica Crowley podcast, former Trump Treasury official. And Monica, great to have you with us here on the show.
So good to be back with you, Lou. Thank you.
Monica, let's turn first to Israel and the Biden administration and what it has done trying to interfere in the internal political affairs and military affairs of Israel, whether it be the demands for a unilateral ceasefire, whether it be the demands that there be, without any conditions, it seems at all, a complete submission to the idea of a two-state solution that brought just after days after the October massacre. Your reaction to what has been the posture of this ignoramus of a presidential regime?
Yeah, I want to start, Lou, by saying, isn't it amazing that the same group of Democrats who have been bellyaching and screaming about foreign interference in American elections, the Russians are coming, for 8 years now, have no problem whatsoever in interfering with the Israeli internal politics and those political dynamics, particularly at a time when Israel is under the gun in a war posture here. It's good for the Democrats to interfere, but not for anybody else, right? Anyway, getting to the foreign policy aspect about this, domestic politics is playing a huge role in what Joe Biden and the Democrats are doing in terms of how they're handling Benjamin Netanyahu, the Israeli government, and their war effort against Hamas, and more broadly, Iran, because there are pockets of very heavily Muslim communities in this country, namely in the state of Michigan, Dearborn, etc. And this administration does not want to alienate those voters because they need to carry Michigan in November. So they are more than willing, Lou, to throw Israel, our longstanding ally, certainly our most important ally in the region, under the bus for pure domestic politics. It is disgusting. That kind of weakness has also given rise to all of these campus protests that are grounded in rank anti-Semitism, but it has allowed those kinds of revolutionary forces with pro-Hamas top line to move forward here. In America as well. It is a completely disgusting approach to Israel. throwing them under the bus, stripping them of American ammunition, as was announced by this White House yesterday, and weapons and so on, without any kind of preconditions or any kind of pressure being put on Hamas. Let's talk about the hostages,
Well,
five of whom, by the way, are
yeah,
American citizens. There's no conversation whatsoever about any of that.
well, let's talk about what is a subject of considerable conversation right now on those campuses, and that is who should be the president of Columbia University, of Harvard University, and universities across the country. Because what we have seen is an alignment between a Marxist faculty in most of those universities and colleges, an alignment then with the administration that is Marxist in terms of its presidents, and in some parts, their trustees, and of course, alignment with the protesters. And then we find out the protesters are, guess what? They are also the beneficiaries of the same donors who are contributing to the Biden campaign and the Marxist Dems. I mean, we have a mess here, and people have to look at what's really happening on these campuses and in this presidential election year.
Yeah, Lou, I am a graduate of Columbia University, and I'm not surprised, but I'm horrified by what's going on the grounds of my alma mater. Columbia has long been a hotbed of this kind of rabid leftist kind of activism, going all the way back to the Vietnam War, where they took over the president's office.
Sure.
And now it's just the latest line in all of this. To your point, this Marxist revolution that has been ongoing in America since the 1930s to infiltrate and destroy this country from within, this is why now we're at the tipping point. It didn't start under Obama or Joe Biden. This has been going on for almost a century, where they have been chipping away at all of our institutions, including the academic realm, education, now all the way down to preschool. Preschool kids are getting indoctrinated. So this has been going on a long time. But the donors, like, none of this can happen without money. And what's been reported over the last few days is critically important. The Biden donors, Bill Gates, George Soros, the Gates Foundation, so many of these entities are pouring money into these anti-Semitic, pro-Hamas, Marxist revolutionaries to create this kind of chaos on college campuses with one goal. Because we know the nature of revolution, Lou, right? Never stays on the college campus. It spills over to the cities, then it spills over to the suburbs, and pretty soon the entire country is engulfed in this. It is being financed by the Marxist left, the same forces supporting Joe Biden, and they've got one goal in mind, which is to destabilize American society. That's what all of this is about. And whether it was the anti-Vietnam War protests, whether it was Antifa and Black Lives Matter in 2020, or whether it's these protests, Lou, the issue is not the issue. The issue is always the revolution.
Yeah, the revolution is taking place in the boardrooms of nonprofits and NGOs all across the country, because Soros money, which, by the way, I know the man's a billionaire, but I had no idea that he could make so much out of $1 billion as he spreads it across all of these campuses. He's spreading it across all of the election organizations that are going to be trying to make certain that their candidate wins. And that candidate, of course, is Joe Biden. It's remarkable how little attention the national media is paying to the finances and to the organizations that are involved in this, the terrorist organizations, at least 3 of them involved in the groups at Columbia University. No one wants to pay attention to a reality. We are watching sort of a group meetup on these college campuses, the illegal aliens that have been invited to invade the country by Joe Biden, at the same time that we've got a Marxist revolution on our campuses. This is really looks like certainly a predicate for another summer of love, the likes of which this time we did not see in 2020.
Yeah, as I've been saying, Lou, if you liked the Summer of Love of 2020, you're going to love what they have in store. Mostly peaceful summer this year as well. Again, it's all the same revolution, and what stands between us and the success of that revolution is Donald Trump and the America First movement. That's why they're pulling out all the stops to stop one man, and by extension, his movement, by extension, you and me in this audience as well, Lou. It's all the same revolution. Like I said, it's been going on forever, and they're so close to grabbing the brass ring of imploding the United States and more broadly the West, because this is going on in the UK and Germany and Italy and France. It's going on everywhere. The implosion of Western civilization. And to your point, why is it left to you and me to be talking about this? I mean, I'm glad that you are, and I am on my show as well, but there should be a much broader conversation about what's actually going on in this country so the American people can know that their country that they love and all of their freedoms are hanging by a thread. And we got one more shot to fix this, Lou, and after which it's going to be done.
I think you're exactly right. We have one shot, as we've been saying on this podcast, this television show, and on radio. The reality is that either we get it done November 5th or we lose the constitutional republic that has been ours for more than a quarter millennia. Monica Crowley, as always, great to have you with us. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much, Lou.
Thank you. Well, the Republican National Committee has joined President Trump's campaign and the Nevada Republican Party, suing the Silver State for election integrity or lack thereof. The lawsuit was filed Friday, stating that Nevada's policy of counting mail-in ballots for 4 days after Election Day is a clear violation of federal election law. And it looks like the President Trump-led Republicans are beginning to get more aggressive. They're going to court, and that's great news. We'll be following this case as it develops. After weeks of campus upheaval, leaders of Columbia University have surrendered once again to the pro-Hamas radicals. The Ivy League school has now canceled its main commencement ceremony for students who are paying $70,000 a year in tuition, or somebody is paying it. This after the school canceled in-person classes for the remainder of the semester. And now we're starting to get a clear idea indeed of just how big this campus insurrection truly is. Politico has dug up the receipts and found that the same mega donors that back the Biden administration are behind this pro-Hamas insurgency. And that includes the radical Superfund Tides Foundation, a Soros outfit, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, the Rockefeller Foundation, and others. Meanwhile, in the U.S. military, West Point is introducing a new curriculum that includes, are you ready for this? Courses on, quote, deconstructing patriotism, end quote, quote, cross-dressing in the military. You got to have that. Come on. Dress uniforms, get it? Oh, well, never mind. And other topics related to gender norms and representation and other things that I don't comprehend. Joining us now to discuss this is the author of Unfit to Fight, How Woke Policies Are Destroying Our Military, former U.S. Army combat helicopter pilot and Deputy Assistant to the Secretary of Defense, Amber Smith. And I want to get straight into that, if I may, Amber. People, I don't think, really understand how dire the situation is for the U.S. military, all branches right now. Every one of them is failing miserably in their recruiting goals. And every one of them is spending a huge chunk of the budget on DEI training, CRT training, you name it. Woke is about to break this military. Do you agree?
I agree. The woke policies that are being forced on the Department of Defense are absolutely destroying leadership. They're destroying unit cohesion. They're destroying the trust that is absolutely necessary to have an effective fighting force between the subordinates and the commander. And overall, we are seeing these policies have a drastic effect on accomplishing the mission. It's a distraction. It's taking what used to be, mission priorities and shifting to focus on these policies. And it's resulted in this downward spiral at the Pentagon, this two-tiered justice system from those at the top, the brass that you see testifying on Capitol Hill that make excuses for absolutely everything instead of, coming up with solutions to change it or even acknowledge the problem exists at all.
Yeah, and that is a huge part of the issue now. It's almost impossible to come up with a great. I remember the Navy had indicated during the Obama years that it was going a different direction. They started a campaign called the U.S. Navy that had always been a force for America, and it suddenly became a force for the world, for peace. And I thought that was an amazing transition where they're actually trying to take uh, American sailors and turn them into a force for the globe uh, instead of the American people for the United States. We have seen that now just be eclipsed by this crazy fervor over social justice nonsense, this CRT DEI propaganda that is nothing more than brainwashing people against themselves, don't you think?
Yeah, and the drastic effects are what we're seeing with the biggest recruitment crisis since the Vietnam War, the all volunteer force. The sort of quieter but as much of a crisis is the retention crisis. People who have served for years and years, some of them those senior levels, moving on to being battalion commanders, who are saying enough. I'm getting out. They're ETSing or retiring, just writing out their time until they can be
Right.
done. And then even worse than that is morale. So the people that are in are suffering on a daily basis. I interviewed dozens and dozens of people for my book. Every single one of them, and this should terrify everyone because it speaks volumes about the current state of our military, because the Department of Defense used to rely a large percentage of veterans for recruitment. And like I said, of all the people that I interviewed for my book, not one said that they would recommend military service to their children or someone that was in their sphere of influence within their community. So the fact that that demographic, that built-in recruiter with America's veterans, the fact that that has been removed is, we're starting to see the effects of it, but it's only going to get worse after the Afghanistan evacuation, after the COVID mandate, and then all of these woke policies that are being shoved down everybody's throats.
Can you imagine being in combat and being told by a transgender non-com that who doesn't distinguish between male and female, uh, uh, that he or she is going to lead you into combat with fundamentally no understanding of biology, with so much confusion about their own identity. I mean, how in the world could the United States military ask a person like that to lead men and women into combat and expect those men and women to follow?
And the reality is that they won't. People won't follow them. It's disastrous when you look at it from a leadership perspective. Like I said, like the foundation of that relationship, when your boss, when your commander tells you to go charge a hill while the bullets are flying, you do that because of the training and the relationship that has been built prior to that with your commander. And you trust them, you trust their instincts, you trust their judgment. Those two things are not in conjunction with when you have someone who can't decide if they're a man or a woman. It doesn't happen. And so it shows weakness, it shows our enemy's weakness, and it does weaken our military as a whole. But sadly, the Biden administration has made that a focal point of their PR campaign with the military. You see across the media today, they want to promote transgenders in the military, and you see that in photos that are all across the internet, and it's having the exact opposite result than what they had hoped for.
So where do you think how does this end for the U.S. military? What's it going to take Can we recover a military that understands the difference between a man and a woman, understands what good military order means, understands what esprit de corps means? Because it's obvious that the generals who run the U.S. military have forgotten.
Yeah, it's sad as someone who served in a military that, the military I served in doesn't exist anymore. I do think that, there are plenty of still patriotic Americans who I think 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago would still have chosen to serve the military. But I think what they're seeing today is they're no longer interested. They are looking to pursue different paths. If they want to get indoctrinated by woke everything, they can go to a regular college, they can pursue other things in the civilian world. They don't need to go, they're going to choose something else than the military for that. But where this ends, if we're seeing right now in terms of the numbers, the force structure numbers that, every year the secretary of the service secretaries and the chiefs, they have to meet those numbers. They haven't met those recruitment numbers for years. So instead of, finding a way to do that, they are then lowering those numbers. So even when you see some of the branches say, oh, we're getting closer this year, it's like you're getting closer this year because you lowered the standard, you lowered the numbers. Yeah. So sooner or later, the all volunteer force is going to fail. That's what I keep saying, is that it is not viable right now. It's not sustainable with the way they are currently running operations in the military right now.
And that shows a lot of integrity too, doesn't it? When you have the command structure of the United States military, all the branches all agreeing to lower the numbers so that they can look better, hitting lower standards. It's much the way they've run the physical, the PT training for women in the military. It's a military none of us really recognize. Amber Smith, thanks for writing what is a very important book, and that book is Unfit to Serve. We recommend it to you highly. And Amber, thanks so much for being with us here.
Thank you.
Well, aircraft, space, and defense manufacturer Boeing, rocked by a series of crashes of its 737 MAX jetliner and a scandalous year-long list of quality control failures, and now the suicide of whistleblower named John Barnett, who reportedly killed himself in March, and a second whistleblower named Joshua Dean has died under mysterious circumstances, reportedly a mystery infection. But we'll be following that to find out exactly what the forensics tell us. And now, on top of all of that, Boeing faces 10 more whistleblowers who we are told are poised to go forward and talk about safety standard violations. And the CEO of the company, despite all of this, he's been fired, Dave Calhoun. But inexplicably, he isn't leaving until the end of the year. Now, that just must be the way Boeing does things. And it's not as though things are improving at Boeing. So inexplicable is the only word I can come up with. And in America's ridiculous college sports scene, a male runner pretending to be a female won 2 events at the Division III Rochester Institute of Technology. This person would have placed last if he would have run against his fellow men or fellow man. Also on the woke sports scene, future Hall of Fame quarterback Tom Brady got roasted Sunday night, but he dished out at least a roast or two himself for Taylor Swift and the Kansas City Chiefs. Here he is.
Stadium is the loudest. It helps when all your fans are 14-year-old girls. And in honor of Tay-Tay, let's take a look at the Chiefs eras. Terrible for 50 years, good for 5. Shake it off.
I'm sure he was just kidding. Absolutely, just kidding. No resentment there at all. And now I'm pleased to bring you more developments at MyPillow. MyPillow is excited to bring you their biggest bedding sale ever. Get the Giza Dream Bed Sheets for as low as $39.98. A set of pillowcases for only $9.98. My wife and I sleep on those Giza sheets, and we love them. We think they're unbeatable, in fact, and we've been sleeping on MyPillow Giza sheets for years. And you can rejuvenate your bed with a MyPillow mattress topper for as low as $99.99. They also have blankets in a variety of styles and colors and sizes, like plush and waffle and down, for as low as $39.99. Even blankets for your pets. And yes, our dogs have MyPillow beds, which they love. And they even have the dog blankets. Two of our dogs are older, and they, I assure you, absolutely appreciate those beds and those blankets as well. Get huge discounts on duvets, quilts, down comforters, body pillows, couch pillows, and so much more. So go to mypillow.com, use promo code Dobbs. You'll be glad you did. Or call 800-977-9152 and get all of your shopping done now while quantities last. And remember, use promo code Dobbs. Great bargains, great quality, a great promo code. I'm sure you agree. And join us each and every day for my podcast, The Great America Show. It's no secret that the American people have lost faith in our so-called mainstream news media, corporate Marxist media, but a new poll is really driving home just how bad it is. An Associated Press American Press Institute poll says over half of Americans are extremely or very concerned about news organizations reporting misleading information about the election. Only 14% of respondents said that they have a great deal of confidence in the national media, only 11% in the local media. The Marxist national media should congratulate itself on what it has achieved, the complete collapse of public trust in their reporting. But someone who is doing actual reporting is independent journalist James O'Keefe. He was on this show 3 days ago and released a bombshell video exposing a CIA and NSA contractor who openly bragged about a plot against former President Trump that runs to the highest levels of the U.S. government.
We kept information from him.
Say one more time.
We kept information from him.
From Trump?
Yes. He's an idiot.
There are certain people that would give him a high-level overview but never give it any details. You know why? It's called leak those details.
So the agencies kind of like all got together and said, we're not going to tell Trump.
The higher ups.
The higher ups.
We put it this way, the executive staff, we're talking about the director and his subordinates.
Like what titles are they? They're
Director of the CIA.
director of the CIA will keep.
Yes.
Are you guys still watching him?
I would say yes.
Like, it sounds like you guys are still watching him and his team.
Of course we are. Nothing goes by.
Well, Congressman Tim Burchett, Republican of Tennessee, is taking this extremely seriously, and he is now demanding an investigation into the CIA and has fired off letters to Judiciary Committee Chair Jim Jordan, Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer. In that letter, Burchett says, quote, any government worker or agency director who withholds information from a superior, i.e. President Trump, may violate A, obstruction of justice by deception, B, conspiracy to obstruct, and false statements. Therefore, I respectfully request the House Committee on Oversight and Accountability immediately open an investigation into the matter. And joining us now is Congressman Tim Burchett. Congressman, it's great to have you with us. Let's start with what you can reasonably expect to come from an investigation by the Oversight Committee now of the CIA. There's a broad record of their misdeeds, but no one to this point has investigated them.
No, Lou, we don't have the guts to do a whole lot. I hope that we bring it up. I think what it's going to show, though, is that, we had a commander in chief that was denied information, and because of what they felt, their opinion was that he was a Russian spy. And, this is all this big government, uniparty, whatever you want to call it. But it seems like they're all in cahoots against us. And, it's beyond me that this guy could even do this. And then, of course, the CIA said they've called and verified that he no longer works there. But, he works somewhere or he'd be out on his book tour right now. And so I just like to get to the bottom of it. I like to expose what you and I suspect has been going on for years. That these folks,
part of it we know. I mean, we know the CIA was part of the reason for the original Russian collusion, Russian hoax against President Trump. They were trying to frame him. They were working with the Dems. They were working with the Clinton campaign organization, the DNC, for crying out loud. We know all of that, but nothing has happened. In fact, your speaker, Mike Johnson, decided to give him $200 million on his own volition to give the FBI a new building because they for 9 years have been persecuting President Trump, politically persecuting him. There's no question about it. It's the fact. I don't know what we could expect.
Well, and also I think it's going to show that they used FISA again. I'm glad that was you and I have talked about this in another episode, but that was a good vote that I made against FISA. I always try to stand with the Constitution.
Absolutely.
And the Fourth Amendment. But I just what really I hope it just puts a little sunlight on this thing. It puts a little sunlight on it because everything we do up here is smoke and mirrors. You know that. You've been covering this thing since I was, grade school.
Don't say it.
Sorry, Lou. I'm all about the truth, brother. Unlike the CIA.
There you go. It's all about the truth.
And people are afraid to do this because they're obviously, some people are compromised and some people are going to be compromised and somebody's going to be whispering in somebody's ear, you don't need to be doing this. But I'm sick of it. This was just so arrogant and obvious. And then, and this guy he wasn't some staffer. This guy was, I believe his title was that he was a manager of the CIA Cyber Operations Division.
Yeah.
I just can't stand this. I had to do something, and I don't know what else to do. I mean, nobody's got the guts up here to cut funding. I've had multiple bills to cut funding, and everybody, and this goes back to what I've said every dadgum time, and it makes people mad. Oh, Burchett, you can't say this, but dadgummit, I don't care if they're your Sunday school teacher, if they dated your sister, if you play golf with them, whatever. You grew up with them. Families go way back. You might be related to them. If they're not voting the way to preserve this country, we need to vote their butts out. And that's the bottom line. It's the same old game. They come home, you've seen it. They come home and wrap themselves up in the flag and Ronald Reagan, and they come back up here and cut a deal with the left, the moderates or the Democrats or the Marxists or a combination thereof. And they just sell us down the river every time. And here we are, $35 trillion in debt.
Yeah, I can't think of an exception to that on Capitol Hill. I've never talked to so many congressmen who are talking about leaving Congress over the course of my career, and I've been covering it for a very long time, as you suggested. This is a different moment in history. Most of those, fortunately, that are leaving, I think it's fair to say a sizable majority of them are rhinos. Because they know that they're at an end. They don't know whether or not, I don't know that they're worried about so much the conservatives, the MAGA, the America First congressmen like yourself. But I do know that they're a little worried about, they have that problem, but they also have the problem of they're not yet quite as fully Marxist as the Marxist Dems. So they're sort of caught between, the high and low shot, and they're getting off the field as quickly as they can. And I'm cheering it. I think about 100 more if they left, I'd be suited. What do you think?
I think you're probably about 150 more, but the thing is, in both parties, I was talking somebody of this, I think it was Bob Good. I was up campaigning for him. They're coming after him, and one of the 8 that deposed the last speaker, and and that was one of the positive things I think that's come from this, really, is that some of these people are leaving. that's the real benefit of it. It was just that whole cabal machine, so to speak. It's, you get up here and they tell you how much money you got to raise to get in these good committees. What they don't tell you is why you want to be on that committee. They want to be on those committees so they can rule. They don't want to rule for better. They just want themselves to be the rulers. And I hope America starts paying attention. I do. I'm making a lot of enemies by saying this stuff, but it's the truth. You know it, and I know it, and somebody, dadgummit, needs to be saying it. And
Yeah, well, you're right about that, and we all appreciate your courage in doing it.
Well,
But
I
you're
don't know
also
about all
making a
that.
lot of friends, Congressman. I hope you know that. Uh, the fact is, if the good news is, let me try to get a handle on the good news. The good news is that everybody knows who Mike Johnson is now. You've got people trying. I mean, they're running in Georgia. They're running some rhino. I mean, he may be a Marxist for all I know, a brigadier general against Marjorie Taylor Greene, for crying out loud. That's how sick they are, and how much they want to take over this Congress. I hope there is a campaign organization within the House that really has the intelligence and the savvy to get to Georgia, to get to your district, and make sure that these candidates are being funded the way they should, so that there's a good, strong shot at an honest election, and your victory in it, Marjorie Taylor Greene's victory. But they're sure coming after a lot of people, aren't they?
Yes, sir, they are. I remember Matt Gaetz told me, he said it's not the overt, they're not paying them. It's just when they leave, and maybe they're paying them to leave, but you got to find out what they get when they do leave. And he said a lot more eloquent and a lot more intelligent than I could, but it's going to be interesting to watch with those 30 some odd members that are leaving, or 20, whatever it is. I can't even remember now, where they all end up, what jobs they end up in. And, they'll end up in academia, media, PR, lobbying, and all points in between. But it's going to be interesting to watch.
Yeah, it'll be an interesting story. Where did to the 20, the 30, the 40? I'm hoping for more, 50. Where did they end up? We'll do that story, and the day we do that story, when we find out where they're headed, we'll bring you back to do color commentary if we could do that. It's really quite interesting to think that all of this has come down to November 5th, and no one has a very good grip right now on how the House is going to break. But we'll see, and I hope that you are reelected by a landslide. Can I put it that way, Congressman?
I appreciate that. I just need one more than the other side's got, Lou, but I'll take it. I'll take it.
Yeah. I want a landslide because you deserve it. You're a great American.
I don't know about that.
Congressman Tim Burchett, thanks for being with us.
Brother.
We appreciate it. You bet.
Sorry about the crack about your age, Lou. I'll correct that.
Oh man, because nobody could look it up. I mean, I've only been in the public eye for about 50 years. It starts to add up after a while.
It felt like 5 to me.
When you talk about my age, understand, for me, you're bragging, because I'm here, and I'm still in the fight. Thanks, partner.
Right on. Thank you, Lou. See you, brother.
Take care, Congressman. Back in February, the D.C. Circuit U.S. Court of Appeals decided that President Trump lacks absolute immunity. The ruling was a gift to Special Counsel Jack Smith, who thought he had his Get Trump crusade in the bag. But Chief Justice John Roberts looks like he won't make it easy for Trump's enemies. During Supreme Court arguments, the Chief Justice said the lower court's position was wholly insufficient. In fact, Roberts seemed to mock the unanimous decision as circular reasoning, the blind leading the blind. Roberts said of that ruling, quote, "As I read it, it says simply a former president can be prosecuted because he's being prosecuted," end quote. This is encouraging, folks. The Chief Justice demanding reason and logic and law. All of this means there is a good chance that the case could be returned to a lower court for a second look it could mean that the Supreme Court itself make a ruling. I would much prefer that. A ruling in favor of President Trump on immunity would end all of the persecution, the political persecution in our courts that President Trump and his family have had to go through for now a ninth year. It would automatically count as a win, of course, for President Trump. And another setback for Jack Smith, and he's had plenty of them, his team has been forced to admit that it altered evidence in the classified documents case against Trump. There's no other words for it. He is messing with the evidence. And that isn't a good thing for anyone who's supposed to be an officer of the court to do. The evidence today is not what it was when Smith's team found it. And how did that happen? It sounds like the FBI thinks it's an honest mistake and immaterial to the case. President Trump mightily disagrees. In a post on Truth Social, he called Smith a deranged criminal and demanded his arrest. Trump has a way of cutting to the heart of the issue, doesn't he? And turning now to New York, where the other Get Trump witch hunt is entering its third week of testimony. On Monday, Trump was fined $1,000 for a 10th time, threatened with jail time again for violations of a gag order. Judge Merchant is quite a judge. He somehow thinks he's in a Stalinist show court. Yet President Trump seems unbothered by all the efforts at intimidation. It is remarkable to watch. And joining us now is President Trump attorney Will Sharp. Will, great to have you back with us. You've got quite a battle going on in Missouri for the Attorney General nomination. You're trying to unseat the incumbent Attorney General, Andrew Bailey. How's the campaign going?
The campaign's going great, Lou. You know, conservative grassroots all over the state are absolutely on fire. They're ready to take on the Jefferson City establishment, and that's really core to the campaign that we're trying to run here. I think Missourians just deserve much more conservative government that they've been getting. Government not beholden to the special interests and the lobbyists who have been running Jefferson City for far too long. So we're really excited about the race ahead. It's an August 6th primary, and we definitely feel like we're in the driver's seat right now.
All right. Well, being in the driver's seat against an incumbent is a pretty good place to be. Let's turn to some of the legal issues out there. And one is we now have a president of the United States who is, as you well know, been under political persecution now for a ninth year. And we have a chief special counsel in Jack Smith, who's been obviously tampering with evidence. He's confessed it in a late Friday night filing. I guess that was just an accident. It was late Friday that he filed that before the court. This president has had to put up with every kind of noxious element of the lawfare community. Your thoughts about how he's doing and why in the world are we tolerating such a person as Jack Smith as a special counsel?
Yeah, look, you put it exactly right. This is a campaign of lawfare designed to interfere with the 2024 election. And I think speaking to the longitudinal time frame, the fact that this goes all the way back to the Russia collusion hoax is really important, and it's something that gets lost in a lot of the commentary. The attorney for Jack Smith in his office at the U.S. Supreme Court just a couple weeks ago was actually Michael Dreeben, who was also counsel to Mueller during the whole Russiagate collusion investigation. Which just goes to show how deep-seated the opposition to President Trump is within these sort of D.C. legal circles and just how long it's been going on for. But we feel very good across the entire litigation portfolio. One by one, these cases seem to be collapsing under their own weight. Last week, as you mentioned, it was Florida, where just damning revelations are coming out about how these documents ended up at Mar-a-Lago in the first place. They were actually shipped there by the Biden administration's GSA. Obviously, issues with, as you put it, evidence tampering, the custody of evidence after it was seized during that outrageous Mar-a-Lago search. The New York trial, I mean, we've been at this for weeks, and they still haven't introduced a single piece of evidence that President Trump did anything wrong. Just case by case by case, we feel as though we're winning. We feel as though we're turning the tide. And we just need to keep fighting and make sure that President Trump has the ability to run fairly for the presidency. And I believe that he will win in November as long as we can defeat this campaign of lawfare and election interference.
I get a kick out of the New York media, particularly their newspapers, where they like to call this the Stormy Daniels trial or whatever they may, to make it as lurid as possible, because there's really nothing happening in those trials that would in any way incriminate President Trump. And their case apparently rests on the certified liar, Cohen, who is, I mean, it is just extraordinary that you've got a man who's actually been in prison for lying, going to testify against a president and likely future president. And everybody's just fine with that in New York because the court system in New York City and the New York State is just rancid with corruption, political corruption.
Yeah, this case should have never been brought. It should have been dismissed long before trial. Unfortunately, we're in front of a judge who's been very unfair to us. We've obviously moved to have Judge Merchan recused off of this case. We've moved to overturn this completely unconstitutional gag order he's imposed against President Trump and our team. We're going to keep fighting on all of those fronts, but just day by day at trial, we've seen the case that they're trying to build just completely fall apart. And again, they haven't produced any evidence at all that President Trump committed any crime, much less the crime he's been charged with here, which is business records fraud. So we think that things are going quite well for us. We certainly hope that the jury sees things the same way. But I believe there's absolutely no doubt that a fair jury would vote to acquit President Trump here because he did absolutely nothing wrong.
Well, did nothing wrong, for crying out loud. The Marxist Dems did everything wrong. They had to extend the statute of limitations to even get the idea that these bookkeeping errors mattered to anyone. And secondly, then they had to construe that that was some sort of election fraud, which patently it is not. And everyone keeps walking around in a daze as if they're sort of fascinated by the idea there could be a crime here, when there is no crime and there is no basis. I mean, if Judge Merchan, in my opinion, were to, God help the Republic, if he were to actually jail Donald Trump for violating the gag order and through contempt of court, I don't know what would happen in this country. Do you?
It would be a very, very dark day for the Republic. The gag order is wildly unconstitutional for a number of different reasons. We challenged, mostly successfully, a similar but much narrower gag order in the Washington, D.C. prosecution. The gag order is so vague that it doesn't even really put us on notice of what would and wouldn't violate the gag order. I certainly hope that they don't press this further. We've challenged the gag order in front of the New York Appellate Division. We're going to continue doing that. But it's just one aspect of the absolute unfairness, the absolute outrageousness of this entire case. And we need to keep fighting. But at the end of the day, the mere fact that a former president of the United States, the leading candidate for president of the United States, the fact that he's being forced to sit through this trial for weeks on end at the height of election season, it's absolutely outrageous. It should outrage all Americans. I'd hope even our friends on the left could see that this is just absurd and this is not the way we do elections in America.
Will, do you really think you have any friends on the left? I mean, I understand that's a nice construction. It's a device. Do you really think you've got friends on the left? Because I don't believe you do.
It was very interesting. There's a pretty far left law professor named Jed Sugarman who started tweeting about this case about a week and a half ago. And even he said, this case is outrageous. It should have never been brought. It's totally deficient legally, factually, et cetera. So I think there are some folks that are starting to turn around and just realize how absurd this situation is. As for personal friends on the left, I have some friends who aren't as conservative as I am, I'd say that. But I think that just the country in general is starting to turn against Joe Biden. When we see the radicalism that we've seen on college campuses, I think people understand that this country's slipping away. And I'm hopeful that this is going to be a red wave election like we've never seen before, where Americans just start rejecting this radical leftism that's infected the Democrat Party, that's infected our colleges, that's infected large aspects of our culture. So that's really what I'm hoping for here.
You know, there is an issue here, something called Darwinian. It's natural selection. And if there isn't the capacity to fight, I don't care whether you're a bug, a flower, or you know, any part of the human species. If you don't know how to fight and you don't have to fight, you're going to lose, and you're going to lose terribly. And we're about on the cusp of losing this constitutional republic because the ignorance of this country. Let's be really honest. The American people here don't look real smart, and particularly the leadership of the Republican Party. If we didn't have Donald Trump, we wouldn't have a chance in hell of winning that election on November 5th. And only with him do we have a chance to sustain this republic and to save this republic. And I don't think that there's right now, I don't know that there's an appetite to fight because we have Christians and we have a coalition of business people and entrepreneurs, people with great energy and ideas. But you know what? They don't coalesce around an idea. And that idea is you have to go out and earn it every day. And we are not earning what is has been handed down to us by previous generations. This great country and this great destiny, if only we'll seize it now and support Donald Trump. Do you see any sign that that's changed?
Look, I think President Trump is a once-in-a-generation fighter, and we're very, very fortunate to have him as the flag bearer of our movement. It's been an honor to be his lawyer. It's been an honor to support him. And I think that, we are on the cusp of things turning around. The night is always darkest before the dawn. The night is always darkest before the dawn. And I'm hopeful that the American people see what's going on. And with President Trump back in the White House, we can really start turning this country around. Without him there, I mean, like you, I fear for the future of our republic. I think we're getting close to a tipping point where things will be truly unreversible. And if we don't seize this opportunity, if we don't stand up for what's right here, I think that the demise of the American experiment may be at hand. That's really why I decided to run. That's why I decided to get involved defending President Trump. And I wish more Americans would realize what we're facing and stand up, because I don't think we're going to have many more opportunities.
We will have no more opportunities. I will guarantee you that without question. Appreciate it. Thanks so much. We
appreciate you having me. Thank you.
As always. Thank you. And one reason President Trump's enemies can't keep him down is that he is smarter and tougher. Did I mention brighter than they are? Just take a look at the reception President Trump received at the Formula One Miami Grand Prix. President Trump gets that kind of reception everywhere he goes. He draws a crowd wherever he goes, and I mean a spillover crowd. Well, before we go, I want to talk about something really exciting. When Mike Lindell invented the original MyPillow, it had everything you could want in a pillow. Now, here we are, nearly 20 years later, and he has discovered there's a new technology that makes MyPillow even better. Imagine. The MyPillow 2.0 has the patented adjustable fill of the original MyPillow, but it also has fabric that is made with temperature regulating thread. The MyPillow 2.0 is the softest, smoothest, and coolest pillow you'll ever own. Right now, MyPillow is offering a buy one, get one free on the MyPillow 2.0 when you go to mypillow.com and use promo code Dobbs or call 800-977-9152. Say goodbye to tossing and turning and flipping your pillow over during the night. Take advantage of this buy one, get one free offer by going to mypillow.com and please use promo code Dobbs. You'll be glad you did. And join us each and every day for my podcast, The Great America Show. Thanks for being with us, and join us here tomorrow, 7 Eastern, 6 Central, for our usual evening meeting. The Lindell Report comes up next. Good night. Thanks for being with us. God bless you, and God bless America.
Wow, it's so soft and smooth.
It's cool to the touch. How did you do that?
Well, we took MyPillow's patented fill and combined it with this new technology that we didn't have back then when I invented MyPillow to bring you the best pillow in history, MyPillow 2.0. My employees and I want to thank you for MyPillow 2.0's huge success. And now we're manufacturing our multi-use MyPillows with the same temperature regulating technology. Made with my patented adjustable fill and new cooling fabric, they're truly the next generation of MyPillow. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save over 60% on our MyPillow 2.0 4-pack special. You'll get 2 MyPillows and 2 multi-use MyPillows, regularly $199.92, now only $69.98. King size $10 more, so please order now. Mike Lindell here, and like you, I see our country being destroyed daily. We face massive economic issues, and I can tell you from firsthand experience, there are people in power who threaten the values that have made our country great. Well, I've been a believer in gold and silver for a long time, and I've searched for years for a partner that shares my values. Well, Genesis Gold Group showed me how easy it is to protect your IRA, 401k, or your retirement with gold and silver. Their faith-driven approach to service and stewardship is one that stands out from the rest. So call Genesis Gold Group now at 1-800-200-GOLD. That's 1-800-200-4653, or go to LindellGoldRush.com now. Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, and I'm excited to announce my new product, My Coffee. I get products all the time from entrepreneurs for my new platform, mystore.com. And when I tried My Coffee for the first time, I was blown away. It is the best coffee I've ever had in my life. I spent the last 4 months doing my due diligence, and this family-owned business micromanages every step from the fields to the cup to ensure the best quality coffee you're ever gonna have. It starts with the beans that are grown in Honduras. Honduras's volcanic soil and humid climate make the perfect growing conditions for coffee plants, which produce the best beans ever. Then each batch is tested for its aroma, taste, and other aspects to meet the highest standards in the coffee industry. And after that, it goes into production, which is all done right here in the USA. It's like you're getting that small batch specialty coffee, but delivered right to your front door. So go to mystore.com or call the number on your screen. Use the promo code and you'll get your very own My Coffee for 25% off. You guys all know that I've traveled the country for the past year and a half. I've stayed in hundreds of hotels. I've tried every coffee out there. Well, some of the coffees have that terrible aftertaste, some that leave me jittery, or I get an upset stomach. Well, My Coffee is different. It's the richest, smoothest, best coffee I've ever had. My Coffee comes in a variety of flavors. You get them ground or whole bean, plus it's certified organic and non-GMO. I guarantee it'll be the best coffee you've ever had. So go to mystore.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code and you'll get My Coffee